back to the sugya. Nanav alav Tosfos. We left off at the suffix in Tosfos. So what's the suffix? I'll just review the. You want to review the? Let me review the facts. So again, the two variables are as follows. One variable is you are not allowed to. You're not allowed to matir a minhag. You cannot act against the minhag publicly. So I cannot go into the town and let's assume you can't. You have a mafresh challah from Orez. I can't go into town and do what Rav Yosef said. I can't just eat the dough, right, or the baked product. On the other hand, we know that I am not doing it in front of a chacham. So I'm allowed to matir in front of a chacham. I'm not bound by the minhag if I'm in front of a talmid chacham. So Tosfos takes up the issue. Tosfos takes up the issue of, well, let's look at it from the chacham's perspective. Okay, what is he able or not able to do? So Tosfos says there's two logical possibilities. Either you're going to say that the chacham not only can he matir for himself, but he can matir his talmidim as well, which means that his talmidim are not bound by the minhag. Or do you say that no, that the chacham can only matir for himself, but he can't matir for the talmidim? So what are the two logical possibilities? And let me ask you another question, which no one seems to have brought up. What's the havmina that you couldn't be matir in front of the talmid chacham? There's obviously a havmina here. No? There's a havmina that...
We did not have... Yeah.
There's a havmina that I can't matir in front of a chacham. In other words, if I read the Gemara, what would I have thought? Ein matir and bifneim. You were touching on this before, but I want to give it to you. Ein matir and bifneim means what? Bifnei everybody. So all of a sudden you come up with this chacham business. Why would you think you can't matir in front of chacham? Kamashmalan, you can. And then with that said, Tosfos is suffix. So let's just deal with the havmina. The havmina by the chacham is easy. That was what we were saying yesterday. Okay. Whereas if you couldn't matir it, if you could not matir it in front of a chacham, what does that tell you about the nature of the minhag?
That there's something to it.
Right, that it's a kiyum, right? That has to be. So it would have to be the case. Forget that not a minhag talmid chacham, a minhag by the hamon.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't matir it in front of a chacham,
right.
Well, it's telling you it's like you were saying before. It's part of the hamon have the ability to create a halachic entity. Right. No, so Kamash Malan, the very fact that you know that you can matir in front of a chacham tells you what? Remember, what's the whole problem all along? What are we worried about? What are we always worried about?
In front of the chacham in the first.
Worried about mizalzel. So you can't tell me but if that's the primary concern, so what are we worried about? We're not saying it's not a halachic thing. Rather, we're concerned that if you undermine it, if you try to uproot it, so to speak, by acting against it, what's going to happen? It'll lead people to be over other halacha, but you can't say it's going to happen by the chacham. That's a segue into Tosfos' next move by the suffix. You guys, the distinction you hit is basically the right distinction. Let's start from a methodology standpoint. You made the right step. In other words, clearly, it's a question of how you define talmidim. So there's obviously two logical ways to define a talmid. I just want to take it one step further. But one way is, let's just take what you guys said is the right move. One way is either they're part of the hamon, right, or they're like a talmid chacham. Okay, so now tell me, why are they part of the hamon, and why would they be like a talmid chacham? Well, you're right. You're right about that step. That's the categorical distinction. He's not sure. A talmid is we're not sure where he is. Notice, by the way, just want to make one important point. I want to make one important point because you guys, I'm proving you guys made the right step. Notice Tosfos never entertains the possibility that talmid is a separate category. There's no three categories. He's not saying there's Hamon, Talmud, or Talmid Chacham. Either he's just like a Talmid Chacham, or he's part of the Hamon. Right. There's no third category of Talmud. Right. Either you're a Chacham or you're B'nai Medina. Now, why would you say they're part of B'nai Medina, and why would you say they're like a Talmid Chacham? On the one hand, a Talmud is someone who learns more Torah than Hamon. Period. He's more learned. So that objectively, right? Everyone knows that. That's clear. So one possibility is that the Talmud is really like a Talmid Chacham, right? And he's like a Talmid Chacham, how? Because he learns, right? He's learned. Remember, the Gemara looks at B'nai Medina as people are Amratzim. They're not learned. He's learned, just like a Talmid Chacham is learned. So that's why he would be like a Talmid Chacham. Well, why is he not like a Talmid Chacham? Or what makes him more like Hamon?
He doesn't have a complete grasp of the system yet.
Okay, so what's the expression of that? How is that expressed?
He cannot pass himself.
Thank you. He can't get psak. Okay, that's what makes it different. So therefore, since he can't get psak, that's why he's part of the hamon. So that's the suffix. The suffix Tosfos says, and there is no answer. So there's two possibilities. Either you could say a Talmud really, he's certainly more learned than the B'nai Medina, but he can't give hara, he can't create halacha, he can't paskin mutar or aser. So he's just like the hamon as far as you're concerned. You understand? But it's such a beautiful suffix. You have to appreciate what we're dealing with, the factors we're dealing with here. The Talmud fits in that. It's very nebulous. So where is he? Because you see, on the one hand, he's someone who is certainly more learned. So you're not worried about mizalzel by him, right? But on the other hand, he can't create a minhag. like a Talmid Chacham can.
Right.
He has no ability to do that. So that's why Tosfos deals with the suffix. And you see why this suffix naturally emerges from the whole thing. Now let's get the facts of the Bnei Baishan case. So you had these, you had this city, right? And in the city, so you had this minhag. Well, it doesn't even say that. It said that what happened? Oh, nahagi, right? So nahag. There was a nihug in the city that they would not go to the marketplace on Erev Shabbos. Okay, why not? All right, why would they go to the market? Why would they go to the marketplace on Erev Shabbos? Why would they go to the marketplace on Erev Shabbos?
Because they're you're not supposed to do.
No.
You should be only involved in Shabbos.
Yeah, it's Tzarchei Shabbos. They figured if they're going to go there, it's going to take them away from Tzarchei Shabbos. Okay, so what happened?
Is there an Isser there?
No, Isser.
I mean, is an Isser near there?
Not really. I mean, there's a kiyum. It's the opposite. There's a kiyum to be involved in Tzarchei Shabbos.
So it's not even like.
But let's get the facts down. So what happened? The sons come along and say what? The sons say, listen, we don't want to do this minhag. They ask, can we not do the minhag? Why? Because that's amazing their argument. We can't afford not to go to the marketplace. We're not Ashirim like our fathers. Which is like a very good argument.
Very good argument.
And what's the response?
Nope.
Shema b'ni Musar v'yichav atidos Torah simecha. Right? So this is the first introductory step to minhag. Remember, we don't even know what a minhag is yet. Right? We know that in this city there was a nihug. Right? I'm using nihug carefully. And the sons came along and said, listen, we don't want to do this. We can't do this. And yet, what was the response? The response of, who was it? I know, Rav Yochanan said, no, you're bound by it. Okay, so what do you say about that? What do you say about that? On the one hand, they see something that seems to be a kiyum, right? It's a nice idea. Well, just a second. It's a kiyum, not a luckily kiyum, but it's reinforcing a nice idea about Shabbos. But now they're saying, well, second, but we have a competing problem, which is that we're not rich. So the question is, we're not losing anything by going to the market. It's like, it's a nice thing to do, right? But there's one problem. The problem is Kabbalah. What the Gemara is telling you is that in order to even to take the step forward to discuss what minhag is, because what's the root of minhag? Nihug. No, nihug. Nihug means behavior. So how do you get from a practice, like a behavior, to what we're going to call halachically a minhag? Kabbalah. What the Gemara is telling you is that there's a mechanism that exists. A mechanism that when they're mikabel, when they weren't just saying that our practice was to do this, they said, we think this is I'm not saying this is a specific formula, but this is l'shem halacha. We see this as being a beneficial thing that becomes a Kabbalah. Once it becomes a Kabbalah, you're bound by it like any other halacha. You can't get out of it. So it doesn't matter what your situation is. So the Havina it was a niyog, like, okay, it was a practice. They did it because they were they had certain factors that allowed them to do it, but why should we follow that? That's for them, not for us. We're in a different situation.
So they really thought they wanted to ask the question.
So respond to what you're saying, they thought they were bound by it, not mipi halacha, but rather they'd say, listen, we see there's a benefit here, so the question is, what do we do about that? Should we continue following that? But if we follow that, we're going to be losing out so far as money is concerned. But what Rav Yochanan's answer is that you don't have a choice. Or is he saying you're
already happened?
Right, you're bound by it because there's a halachic reality to it. Now, why am I saying that's the approach? Okay, why does it have to be the approach? Because now, what does the Gemara then move to do? The Gemara says, yes, there is a halachic reality to it. We're discussing it. It's a halachic reality, but
it's not direct.
What? Well, more than that. More than that. No. Oh, no. Okay, but what's the issue they're worried about, though? There is a reality to it, but our concern is only insofar as the distortion that can emerge. Exactly.
Why don't we care about the reality?
A great example of Bnei Baishan is like this. This is a perfect example. All right. So in Anshe, all right. So there's a family in the shul that I used to daven at. There's a family that when they do duchening, right, there's a special melody they use. All right, and they claim that melody is something that's been in their family for generations. Okay, now when you ask them about it, they say when they sing that melody during Berachas Kolanim, for them that's an enhancement of their tefillah performance. Okay, so the question is that you never say that's a minhag, right? It's not a minhag; it's their family tradition.
They just
but we could talk But we could talk about it because it's nice because it's reasonable to talk about it because within the system of Torah, it helps the performance of Torah. If there was a family tradition to, let's say, eat eggs and eggshells at the same time, the Gemara would never even entertain that because that's not anything that has to do with your performance of mitzvahs. That's just stop. So in order to get into the conversation, first step is, it in some way enhances your Torah performance. But in order to be recognized by halacha as something halachic, all right, just to enter into that arena, Kabbalah is required. That's be Kabbalah. Now, the Gemara is telling us, this is something that we're going to answer down the road, what entails Kabbalah? Makom. Okay, you have to understand.
Kabbalah is it?
The people. I don't. Now that's a great
How do they do
question.
that?
No one ever discusses the specific thing. It seems like it's not like I don't know if there's a town council that gathers together and says we do this. I don't know. So let's just end up with one thing, okay? So going back to the Gemara. Now let's plug into the Bnei Chuzai case.
Okay,
So
you're
initially, Rav Yosef, when Rav Yosef sees his minhag, what was the minhag in Chuzai? The minhag was there were mafresh chal on ores. So when Rav Yosef sees this, what does he say?
What the hell are you doing?
Right. Say, what is this, right? Because what was his argument? And that's why they bring Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef's argument was very good. He says, the Am can't come up with a minhag. What kind of thing is it? The Am come up with a minhag? There's no such thing like that. And Abaye says, no, obviously they can. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, one second. Now,
What's how many they can't?
so Abaye says it's okay as long as in one condition.
What?
Right? It's not tos.
Right. Well,
That's-
they shouldn't do it.
No, they didn't.
Right.
No, so Rav Yosef would reject that also.
Like,
The question to think about now is there's the machlokas of Yosef and Abaye. So now Abaye has a comeback of, you see there's halacha being matir. So Rav Yosef responds and says, you're right. He admits there's such a thing. All right, but where does it apply to? So Rav Yosef says it was set up for the kusai. Right? There's when this whole business of that if you know it's mutter but you're knowing isser, being matir and worried about zilzal, that's only about the kusai. And what's Abaye's response? A very rational response. It says, well, 1 second, kusai. Well, what about Bnei Medina? They're also kusai. They're like kusai. They're Amoratzim. What's machlokas? What's machlokas? In other words, Rav Yosef would say, at this point in time, Rav Yosef would say that if I go to Tzfat and everyone's there Hamon, but there are no kusais, and they came up with a minhag, he would say Nichlas Arba Payo would say it's nonsense. Only if it's actually kusais. Whereas according to Abaye, he says no. He says
Kusai is what?
it's the Jews who went through like a quasi questionable gerus. Right? They're Jews, but they're clearly ignorant Jews.